Overwatch 2 has just dropped, and if you're one of the many people starting completely from scratch, welcome to Overwatch. My name is Ivasi, and in this guide, I'll be going over everything you need to know to start your journey within Overwatch 2. There will be a lot of information in this video, so to help you understand it better, I've gone ahead and broken it down into the timestamps below. Quick disclaimer, the footage seen in this video is recorded within Overwatch 1. However, everything will be applicable for Overwatch 2, as the fundamentals are the same. To start us off, Overwatch is not your traditional FPS game. But everybody knows that, right? Well, with the removal of one tank going to Overwatch 2, and tanks generally being moved into more aggressive units instead of enabling turtling, you'll find yourself dying a lot if you just stand by yourself in the open. You should wait for your team to be ready to fight before you expose yourself to the enemy. The time to kill in Overwatch is surprisingly fast for most heroes, even more so if you're being focused down by the entire enemy team. You should be making use of the map's terrain to avoid unnecessary damage and also making sure that your team is grouped up and ready to fight before you go in. If even one or two people are dead and you try to solo the enemy team, you're not doing what's called a pro gamer move, you're inting with extra steps. Secondly, something that is seriously underused, especially in the lower ranks of Overwatch, are your buttons. No really, I'm being serious. Overwatch is a fast-paced game, much faster than say Valorant. You should always be doing something. Just finish a team fight, you should either be regrouping or pushing forward to take up more space if you're attacking. Shooting a target, you should still be moving to lessen the chances of being killed from a sniper or the enemy DPS. Even if you're defending a point and kicking the hill, you should still be spamming chokes. Everything that you do should still have a purpose, but you shouldn't be standing still doing absolutely nothing. Did you know that 99.7% of you are not subscribed? Crazy, right? It's not like I started recently or anything, but if you are enjoying the video, please do consider subscribing and leaving a like. I'd also like to remind you that you're all appreciated. Okay, bye! Now, what hero should you main? You may be asking. Well, that is completely up to you. Although new players to Overwatch will have to play a few games to unlock new heroes, having the understanding of the character that you may want to play will allow you to narrow in on the type of playstyle while working on unlocking them. For example, if I want to play Baptiste as my main hero, I would start off with someone like Ana or Zenyatta. Start thinking about the type of playstyle that suits you best. Do you like commanding the game, leading the charge, and carrying the entire team on your back? Well, tanks just might be your type of champion. Do you like getting those flashy play of the games and slaughtering the entire enemy team by yourself? Maybe you should play a flank character like Tracer or Genji. Maybe you're more about the consistent owning, so someone like Soldier 76 or Sojourn are more your speed. Do you like keeping the entire team alive, and even though they're afraid to say it, you'll be the one winning them the game? Perhaps try Baptiste or Kiriko. There are a lot of options, but as long as you stay within 2 or 3 characters, you'll improve in no time. This will also help you get more accustomed to the game if you stay within 1 or 2 characters, so you'll be focused more on the game itself and not what your hero actually does. Once you have your class and character selected, we should talk about your roles. Tanks roll, yes, but they do have roles of their own too. You can't just go in, guns blazing, expecting things to die while you don't take any damage. It just simply won't work like that, and you end up being obliterated by the 5 pieces of Exodia. You should wait for your team to come back you up before trying to go in and make space. Tanks are a menace in Overwatch 2, and their main role has always been to create space for the DPS and supports to shine, while also being annoying for the enemy team to deal with. However, this does not mean that you're the most important player on the team. You should always remember that you're playing with 4 other people, and while the supports can heal, their utility may be more of a priority than you feeding by charging in as Reinhardt. For DPS, you mostly want to pick your fights smartly. If you're playing pretty much any DPS other than Reaper, you should never ever try to 1v1 a tank. You're just simply going to have a bad time and most likely end up in the respawn room. Instead, you should try getting picks on the enemy DPS and supports. While supports are more valuable than killing a DPS, you shouldn't chase them around if they do manage to get out of the fight. Simply putting pressure on them and forcing them out is enough. And finally, supports. You'll need to learn how to be self-sufficient, and most players will simply not help you. This means playing around cover and within your effective range. Knowing who and who you cannot fight and being aware of your surroundings are all very important. Yes, these things are important to everyone else, but as a support it is crucial for your success. You can't live long if you're unaware of what's happening around you. And as a general rule for all roles, don't waste your cooldowns. I'm serious, they may be short, but that does not mean you can throw them out whenever you feel like it. You may as well be throwing the entire game too. Either throw them out when you get some ult charge, or when you can pressure a kill. You can also use them when you can protect or save an ally. You should not be holding onto them forever though, but you should put some thought into it before using an ability. Same goes for ults, however, you should not be waiting forever to use them too. Generally, the way I see it is if you could have had 2 ults by the time it takes you to use your first, you've held on for way too long. It's fairly easy to tell when you could have had a second ult too, either by time or by checking your damage and healing. Most heroes within Overwatch 2 have an ultimate cost around 2,500. This may not sound too helpful, but when you remember that 1 point of damage or healing equals 1 point of that cost, you'll be able to track your ultimates, and in Overwatch 2, enemy ults with ease. Ultimates also charge over a period of time too, however this is very slow. It's mostly to ensure that if you've been doing at least something, you'll be able to get one ultimate off before the round ends. As a general rule of thumb, if you see that your team has killed 3 or more enemies, you should probably just save your ult. I know it goes against the previous point to some extent, but wasting ults on enemies that pretty much have no chance of coming back won't do you much good. This of course is a bit different when you consider if your team has any deaths. The way I think of it is if my team is up by 2 players, I will hold my ultimate. Again, there are some exceptions, especially in higher levels of play. Which brings us to our next point. Terminology. Well, not quite brings us here, but this is a good enough segue regardless. If you are able to kill the last remaining enemy of a team fight, but instead decide to wait as long as possible before killing them, congrats, you performed a stagger. This is a core part of higher Overwatch lobbies, as this will increase the amount of time the enemy has to wait before re-engaging. In the same vein, if you're the last player on your team alive and there's no way out, consider jumping off a ledge. No, seriously, if you are for sure going to die, it is better to jump off the map to prevent giving the enemy more ultimate charge, and to respawn with your team faster. Players often refer to this as a tactical reset. There are also some very important callouts for when you're in comms with your team. For example, if someone yells out, "Reinhardt is purple," that does not mean that he's got the Chad LA Gladiator skin. That means that the Reinhardt was hit with an anti-heal ability and that you should focus on killing him before he can be healed up. Zenyatta has a similar ability in where that you want to focus the target affected by that. If you hear that someone is discorded, that means that they will take increased damage from all sources, and that is who your team should be focused on killing first. Calling out, "Cass is 1" or "Cassidy is literally 1" implies that the enemy Cassidy is very low HP, and that literally breathing on him will do enough damage to take him out of the fight. The last callout that I believe that you need to know is what hacked means. Hacked is a unique mechanic to Sombra. Whenever she hacks somebody, they'll be unable to use any abilities or make use of passives for 1 second. This will also briefly show all allies of the Sombra where the enemy is and whether or not they have their ultimate. Hacks also do interrupt abilities, so keep that in mind. Now that you know what the effects to look out for are, here is what they look like. Keep in mind that this is recorded within Overwatch 1, but they will look roughly the same if not identical. Something that I feel that every new or returning player should do is try to pay attention to what each hero ability does, or at least try to see when your enemy is using it. Even without reading every hero's abilities, you'll slowly start to figure out what each character has up their sleeves, and when that character is at their weakest. Once you start to understand the abilities, you'll start to be more comfortable with dueling certain heroes, or at least know who you should be scared of in a given teamfight. This will take a bit of time, but this is something that I feel is highly worth it for all players. Health packs are probably something you should be very aware of in Overwatch, as not only will they save your life, they'll also help you keep up the pressure or relieve it if necessary. You'll find many health packs around objectives that will restore 75 HP, while megas will restore 250. It is a good idea to try to remember where these are as you play maps, as over time it'll be something that you'll be aware of subconsciously. These locations are also used in map callouts, which brings us to our next point. Being able to communicate an enemy's location effectively is an incredible asset, and most of the callouts are self-explanatory, such as health pack locations, high ground, which usually is the high ground most commonly played near the current objective, and simple direction callouts, such as left and right. Although this isn't the best for some people who still can't tell the difference between left and right, but luckily for them, Blizzard is introducing a pinging system. You should definitely go check out your keybinds and start mixing pings with your callouts for improved teamwork. The last thing that I feel that is very important to talk about in this video is understanding what I call tempo. Tempo is very important for pushing through choke points and ending teamfights before your opponents even have a chance to realize what is happening. The easiest way that I can describe tempo is with this analogy. Overwatch is a game of inches on attack or defense, and your objective is to find an opening within the enemy team and exploit it. This usually means going in and going ham when you get an opening pick. Since you would then have the numbers advantage, it will be much harder for the enemy team to recover without investing some ultimates first. And of course, you'd be using your own to secure the team fight in your favor. Finally, we have a mini tip for Overwatch 2. Do your weekly challenges. Seriously. No matter how boring one of them may be, by completing them all, you will earn 60 Overwatch coins a week. These are the premium currency, which you can use on cosmetics and skins and even the battle pass. And this is the only way they can get them for free. And those are all my tips for starting out fresh or for returning players in Overwatch 2. Of course, the use of aim trainers, either external or in the workshop, hero guides, and watching other streamers and content creators play will all accelerate your growth and knowledge within Overwatch. I do hope that this video has been helpful, and please do consider liking and subscribing, and leaving a comment on why you're most excited for Overwatch 2. With all that said, I've been Ivasi, and I am out.